in America, there are multiple lawsuits alleging that social media platforms such as YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok are addictive, defective, inherently dangerous, and therefore the companies are legally liable for the harm and the damages. There's a suit by a public school district in Seattle and a suit in California. There are other suits challenging the way social media companies target their customers with information and police information on their sites. Ken Buck is a former federal prosecutor, a former state district attorney, and a current member of Congress who has developed an interest and an expertise in social media and big tech, and he joins us now. Welcome to you, Congressman Buck. I guess the counter argument is technology is agnostic or benign, but how we use it determines whether it's for good or bad. I mean, which side of the argument do you fall on as it relates to social media and big tech?
Well, clearly, Trey, big tech has developed techniques to hook young people on social media. They understand that when young people see positive images, they get a hit of dopamine, and it brings them back over and over and over again. And the consequences that we saw with Instagram, some of the reports that Meta produced were really stunning, that these young girls had body shaming issues and depression and even higher suicide rates. And what Meta did, what Instagram did, was they doubled down and they went for an even younger group of girls. And it's disturbing, and I hope to see this lawsuit and this theory successful. It's certainly the same theory that was used against the tobacco companies earlier. And it's a product liability theory. I think that it may very well be successful in Seattle.
And you know, Congressman, that is exactly what was going through my mind when you were describing it, that this is big tobacco. This is what this country went through with nicotine. And as we know, I mean, alcohol and some prescription pills and tobacco are regulated. So do you see Congress stepping in? I mean, I think you have to be, what, 18 or 21? I don't know how old you have to be to buy cigarettes, but you got to be a certain age. I mean, there would be mutiny if you said you got to be a certain age to use these social media platforms. So what do you see Congress's role is or as?
Well, I think, Trey, I think what we need to do is we need to create competition. When parents see the harmful effects of Instagram on their kids, and there's an alternative or 5 alternatives, and those alternatives involve images that are only from the shoulders up or non-images, and it's safer for kids, I think parents and kids will make that kind of decision together. When we only have one company occupying a space. And of course, now TikTok is competing with Instagram, but for a long time it was just Instagram. That you had no alternative, and consumers didn't have a choice.
All right, Congressman, in addition to a distinguished career as a prosecutor, and you're currently on the Judiciary Committee, you're also an author, and the subtitle, I want to get this right, Big Tech's War on Free Speech. I mean, you are not a guy prone to hyperbole. You're actually pretty understated. War is a big word. What do you mean by that?
Well, Trey, we know that the Biden administration has contacted social media companies and asked them to take people off of social media because they disagreed with the Biden administration's narrative on vaccines or masks or some other issue. We know that these companies have actually discriminated. Took Clarence Thomas's video off of YouTube during the Black History Month. We know that they are doing, they're suppressing positive stories on Republican members of Congress and presidential candidates, and that's a war in my mind. When you control the flow of information in a democracy, you control elections, and that's scary. And I think the American public needs to know and needs to make sure that they support efforts, again, to create competition and to make sure that we don't allow a few companies to control the flow of information in this country.
We got about a minute left. Your own Judiciary, I assume you're going to be on the subcommittee that has jurisdiction over this. What do you imagine the role for the Judiciary Committee in the House to be in terms of getting witnesses and documents that you need? We got about a minute.
Well, we've for the last 3.5 years, we have investigated, we've proposed different bills, and the Democrat leaders, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, have made sure that those bills didn't get to the floor. I'm hoping that Kevin McCarthy, as Speaker, brings bills to the floor. We get a vote on those bills, and we force the Senate to vote. President Biden says he's in favor. Let's see if he'll sign them.
Ken Buck, we will be watching you on the House Judiciary Committee. Put your prosecutorial skills to good use. Thank you for joining us on a Sunday night.